Alright, Ian, welcome back, guys. So today we have got the start of my new podcast that I'm going to be broadcasting every week. The podcast is called On the Hook and it's all about Dead by Daylight. So we're going to be discussing some of the hot topics, talk about perks, talk about things we like, things we don't like as well. We're going to be joined by special guests every week, and today I'm excited to let you know we have got a couple of content creators and one of my viewers ready to discuss all things Dead by Daylight. So stay tuned, guys. Just before the podcast starts, guys, I just want to let you know I have put timestamps directly on your screen now, so you should be able to see what time we discuss things. They will also be in the description below if you wanted to click on them, and also the description and the channel link for the content creators that have joined us today are in the description, so please show them some love. I really appreciate the work they've done. I haven't quite introduced them yet because I'm going to let them do that on the podcast. Feel free to go over and show your appreciation for taking the time out to give us their opinions on things. If you guys just want to introduce yourselves, that'd be amazing.
Oh, Tatariu, you volunteered to go first.
Oh, all right then. I'm a Dead by Daylight content creator who mains Legion and Cheryl. I've been playing since December of 2018 at around the time of Darkness Among Us.
Okay, thank you for that. Go on then, Potato, do you want to go next?
So I am also a YouTube content creator. I've been doing it since about February. Even though my name says Legion, I don't actually main Legion currently. I main Trapper, and I play a lot of Nier when I play Survivor.
Alright, and Captain Salty?
Cool. My name is CptSalty. I'm not a content creator. I was a content creator, but I have a huge history with Dead by Daylight. Played since the beta, and I'm pretty frustrated with the current version of the game. That's why I'm here.
Alright, yeah, no problem. And in regards to myself, so I'm Giallo, so I've been a content creator probably about the same time as Potato, so I started around the end of January, start of February. So yeah, I've got a lot of ideas, got a lot of thoughts. I do quite enjoy the game. Hoping we give like quite a bit of a balanced opinion on there. So thanks for that, guys. So the first thing we want to speak about is obviously the hot topic at the moment is the binding of kin. So what's everyone's thought on the new chapter?
I love the new killer, to be honest. Like, the killer is really original. Like, it's not even original killer like Doctor or Clown. It's really like the idea behind the killer. You're having two killers, like a demon baby and quotes, and like a and the sister. It's like really I like the killer, and when I get more iridescent shards, I might main this killer because it's really fun. And what I saw on the PTB, the killer is fun to play, and it's actually the first killer that has pretty good teachables after Plague.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. Like, when I went on the PTB and saw that we got a killer that we can control and have two different killers, especially one that's tiny with no tear radius. Playing with my friends, we got a lot of funny jump scares, and it was extremely fun to actually play. And the fact that you can just flying drop kick him, the little one, makes it seriously hilarious. And another positive is the map changes. I think they look great. Especially Ormond. It's about time that map got some sort of rework. But the negatives with that killer is I don't think they're going to be a very good killer. I just think there's too much to counter Victor at the minute. Yeah. And I'd like to see some changes done with that, because let's be honest, the second you see Victor running at you, you're just going to go run in a locker, or you can easily dodge his lunge and give him a good old fly kick in the face. So
the problem I have with that shit is that Victor gets countered by so many things that other things in the game actually gets countered by. It's like barbecue and chili gets countered by lockers. Victor gets countered by lockers. Like in another cases, like if you have Victor on your back, you can still go to the hedge, which is like, what's the point of that actually? Like, it's like they have to either remove the hedge or make it so that bear traps still trigger if they try to go to the hedge, and Victor is still keeping them off the hedge, you know? It's like the hedge is far too strong. Like, and if you have a key, you can still use it even if you have like a Victor on your back, which is like, what is the point of this? This whole mechanic of stopping from leaving the exit gates. Like, one guy that gets the hedge will get out of the trial immediately, even if he has a Victor on the back, which is like a kind of design mistake by chance, but maybe they fix it, maybe they do something about it, because right now Victor is too easy to counter.
I don't even understand why you're not able to leave the exegate, like, because if you have Victor on you, you could just run up to the end of the exegate and killer hits you out. It literally does not matter.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I've found as well. I mean, when I've looked, I think it's probably safe to say everybody probably agrees that the concept's really, really good in regards to the two different killers, the powers, things like that. However, yeah, I made some notes before coming on, and I've put on there's like a few changes that need doing to him. Kidnapping Victor, I've put that down. I played a game the other day, and that's one thing my sole purpose in the PTB that game was just to kidnap Victor. Now, it was fine because the killer just chased me around, and unfortunately, you know, it's like in the PTB, you end up with every rank going, you know, playing alongside you. So the team didn't really capitalise on it, but I kept the killer busy for quite a while purely because the killer was like, I want Victor back. So when you're playing against like red rank players and definitely survive with friends, I think that's definitely going to be one of the counters that I need to look at. Now, obviously, you mentioned as well, CptSalty, about lockers. So yes, that's another thing. But if you remember, guys, Blight was quite different as well on the PTB, wasn't he, when he first came out?
Yeah, Blight barely worked.
Yeah, so they've done the change. So hopefully the change makes some changes to them. One, I think they probably need to put on a little timer on how long you can stay on a survivor for, because obviously the first reaction of survivors is going to be to try to take them off, but the good survivors are going to be like, okay, we'll keep them, and you've got no powers now. So that was one of the changes. I thought, any other changes that you would suggest?
A recall mechanic would be pretty nice. Just press M2 whenever you want and you have him back.
Dude, give Victor access to perks, man. Like, he's just a perkless thing that it's far too difficult to hit the lunge. It's far too difficult, and if you miss it, they kick you immediately. If you have like, if you would work with like Iron Maiden, would be fucking great, because the only thing that counters him is like lockers and like kidnapping. And if Iron Maiden would work with Victor, it would be pretty awesome. And it's not even too strong because it's hard to hit with Victor anyway.
Yeah, so there's a few things that you could put down there to say, okay, we can have a look, and would this work? Would that work? So hopefully the devs work on that and change him. I believe he's due to be out 2 weeks on Tuesday, possibly. I might be wrong with my date. I don't know if anybody else knows any different. But it'd be nice to see.
1st of December.
1st of December, right. So hopefully they'll make some nice changes to him there. One thing that was mentioned there was about the perks. So I think someone said about the perks being strong. So let's talk about his perks. So the twins perks, you've got Hoarder, Oppression, and how do you pronounce it? Is it coup de grace? Is it coup de grace?
Coup de grace.
Coup de grace, right. So what do you think about those then, guys?
Yeah, Oppression is pretty cool. Pretty catch, but I think it might be too weak because it's just the normal regression of a generator. And I think Ruin is weak, even though it's double the regression, but still I think Ruin is weak. And Oppression just like regresses 3 other generators in the area. So it's a cool idea, but I think it's like Zen regression timers are already too weak, and 80 seconds of a cooldown is far too much on this effect.
On the Oppression.
Yeah, but the idea is cool because it's another like gen regression slowdown perk where you can actually go with Michael Myers full gen regression because he needs that to get started. And it's like it's another gen regression perk that you could pair with Search, something Pop Goes the Weasel. It doesn't work with Pop Goes the Weasel, but it's like just another regression so you can stop the survivor from doing gens.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a great perk because obviously it's a great substitute for Ruin. If you're sick and tired of having Ruin cleanse very early game, even with Undying, you get those games where your totems just fly off the map so quickly. And it's a great counter for that. So you've always got it there in your arsenal. It never goes away. And the fact that it makes difficult skill checks for the other gens while they're still on it is a great source of information as well. And when I was in the PTB and I was on comms with Swift, we had a free gen very close to each other, and I'd kick it, and they'd always missed it up the skill checks. And it was just, I had so much control over those free gens, even though they were quite far apart, because within the 80 seconds, it does feel like a long time, but the time you chase somebody away or hook somebody else, you've got it back again. So I can see it being very, very good as a great substitute for Ruin, for sure.
But in general, isn't it just like the difficult skill check that you would get from Overcharge, and that perk is crap?
Yeah, but when it's sort of out of the blue, out of nowhere, because you don't know when the killer is going to kick the gen, it does catch people off guard, and it's going to take time for people to get used to it.
It certainly caught me off guard when I was in the PTB, yeah, because I didn't even see the killer kick that gen, and obviously when I'd went to jump back on it, the difficult skill check, took me by surprise.
It's a great source of information as well, especially if you're running surveillance. Like, you know which gens you've kicked thanks to surveillance giving you information if they're not on it. And if they are on it, hopefully the skill check does its job and informs you anyway. So it's a great source of information as well as progression.
I'm just happy that I don't have to run Ruin because I hate Ruin. I always hated it, but it's like because it was cleansed in 15 seconds or it carried you because the survivors couldn't find the flying totem. You know, it's like I don't like Ruin. I don't want to rely on pure RNG if survivors are not able to do my gens. And that's why I hate Overcharge as well, because Overcharge is not only weak, but it's only RNG. Also RNG. So yeah. I hope Oppression is like really good and replaces Ruin on a lot of builds, because I'm tired of seeing Ruin Undying.
Yeah, that's a new meta pack now, isn't it?
The cooldown on Oppression should be reduced to 60 seconds, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how that might pan out with the perks. Like you said, Surge, for example, could be pretty strong with Surveillance as well. So I think it needs a buff, but I don't want it to just be super powerful to the point where it's in every single game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think sometimes devs do come in for criticism. I know I don't know what everyone's thoughts about, and we'll probably speak about it later, but it is quite a hard balancing act, because you're right in what you're saying there, is that it's easy enough to say let's reduce the cooldown a lot, but then it's got to balance out and not be too powerful. I'm taking it harder then. Nobody sees any value in that?
I
love Order.
Do. I think it's a great distraction for survivors, because obviously you do want them to do other objectives. And the fact that they can't, I don't actually know the maths, you might have to correct me here, but I don't know if they can 100% still get a key with Plunderers. I don't know if it literally reduces the odds so badly that it's literally impossible. But I think it's a great secondary objective, and it's great information as well. And if you tie that up with Franklin's, I think that could go really well as well.
They've owned the best troll perk in the game. Like survivors, you have an item, you like your items, they are gone. You know, it's like the whole point of this perk is like pretty much just screwing with survivors, and that try to be greedy and try to get this value from the items. And it's funny, like just because of this perk, like I would run this perk just to screw with survivors a bit.
It also sort of replaces territorial imperative, because if someone goes down to the basement to search a chest, you'll know right away.
Yeah.
And if you're playing a killer like Cannibal, you can just lock that down right away. So it's very nice. Plus, at the beginning of the game, one of the first things I always do as a survivor is look for a chest and see what I can find. So I definitely see its use in the meta. Definitely to just find survivors.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's unanimous then, so everyone seems to like that one. And the last one is the one with a lunge attack, so up to 100% lunge attack. Has anyone tried it yet? I never got a chance to try it on the PTB.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it is bugged. It's supposed to only be basic attacks, not special attacks, so Demogorgon's extra lunge isn't supposed to be a thing. It's alright though. I mean, if you think about it, you have to lose a generator just for one lunge attack, and I don't think that's worth the loss of an objective.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
It's a cool idea. I like that it's using tokens. I like what it's doing. I just think the way you get those tokens is not exactly ideal.
Yeah.
I think the simple solution to that would be if totems were cleansed as well, get a token, or a chest is searched, get a token. Because it's like as you say, 5 lunges, and you may whiff, and then you're in trouble. You've just lost that perk. So
So it's very reliant. What we're saying is basically it's not worth what you're losing to get the tokens with that one. Right.
It's sort of like Cruel Limits, where you need to rely on the survivors to complete their objective for you to get the buff.
Yeah.
It's like...
And it's basically Bitter Murmur has a better mechanic because you lose a gen, but then you see the auras of the people that did the gen. So it's like, if you compare that with like what you have to lose to gain information, it's far better than to the graph. And like someone said, you have to whiff. Maybe you whiff a lot, and then it's gone. So you have to either stop lunging, and you use your lunge for a certain situation where you need this big lunge, and try to not play a killer with lunge ever. It's not possible. Sometimes you have to get them in the window. You can't just normal hit them. You have to lunge, and then you waste a big lunge on the normal lunge. It's like the moments where you can actually use that long lunge are limited, and it depends on the map. And a lot of indoor maps, it's like pretty broke shit, in my opinion. It's fun, but shit.
Right. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm usually a killer main, but I have started playing Survivor quite a lot lately, enjoying it. So Elodie, I think that's how you say her name. So what do you think about a new Survivor then, especially her perks? So one of the perks in particular for me really stands out, but what do you guys think?
Oh, I know which one. It's the locker one.
The locker one?
The one where she can pretend to jump in a locker.
Yeah.
That perk is absolutely fantastic. I can see so many people winding killers up with it, especially on a jungle gym. When you run around the bend where the pallet is, there's normally a locker there. So if you use that on it, and you've got no scratch marks for the next couple of seconds, tie that in with quick and quiet, vault the window, the killer will think you're in the locker, you're long gone.
Yeah.
So there's some great value out of it for sure.
It's definitely a fun perk, and I think Survivor side needs more fun perks like Deception and Head On, just more interesting things to do that isn't necessarily helping you in Chase directly or letting you repair gens faster. I think a perk like Deception is needed just for the fun aspect of the game.
Exactly. It's a really good supporter perk, to be honest. It's like if you don't want to get found by the killer and you want to drag the killer towards the location, but make sure that he doesn't find you, it's a perfect perk. It's if you want to play like a stealthy build or like a more supporter build that tries to save the teammates and to bait the killer towards your position, it's a perfect perk. It's like if I can see it on like a detective tab build that is like just trying to support the team as much as possible by baiting the killer. It's basically a pebble in another situation.
So what do you guys think about Power Struggle then? So Power Struggle is a perk where if you recover a certain amount, if a killer walks through a pallet while he's carrying you, you can drop the pallet on them. I mean, firstly, has anyone managed to use it without having like Survivor Friends or Kill Your Friend scenario? It's
basically D-strike if the killer picks you up at the pallet.
Yeah, but there is a slight wiggle timer, isn't there? So you can't just instantly do it.
I mean, if you combine it with the flip-flop, it is. And you can do it in tenacity. You can crawl faster and with flip-flop. It's a combo. You have to use 3 perks to make this perk broken, but alone this perk is shit. But if you combine that with flip-flop and tenacity, that's pretty much the best perk in the game. I will say it.
I don't know if I agree with that because a lot of the time, as killer anyway, I pick someone up immediately. I don't like to slug ever unless I'm forced to, and I get it that flip-flop could work with it, but it's going to be a very rare situation where a survivor has died on a pallet and you're forced to sort of leave them. Do you know what I mean?
That's very situational. Plus, you gotta think, who as killer walks through a pallet while you're carrying a survivor?
Never. I try my best to avoid it now.
Yeah. Unless it's a pallet that you absolutely have to walk through, you just walk around. So I don't think this perk is going to be that big of a problem, and it probably won't get used very much because of that.
See, my understanding of this perk, I thought the same. I was like, well, which killer's going to walk through a pallet with you? You know, I did think exactly the same, but the only thing I thought was actually it counts a recovery on the floor as well.
Exactly.
And that's where I think And I get what you're saying. So I know, Potato, you mentioned, you don't slug. So I don't particularly slug myself. However, if I put myself in a situation of being against a survivor of friends, and the survivor falls in between the pallet, I'll bait the pickup. I'll then check around. I'll make sure nobody can come and slam my pallet. I think it can be very powerful in that instance. But like you said, Tatariu, it's going to be very situational in that sense. But I can see it being strong in that scenario. But that's just like one scenario out of however many games you play and however many times you come across like a really good Survivor Friends team.
Yeah, but you have to understand, like, how often does it happen when you chase a survivor and you don't respect pellets, and then you hit them through the pellet, and then they drop the pellet too late, but they still get hit down. In this moment, they will stay at the pellet, so you can't pick them up. If they run this perk and you pick them up, you get punished for that, because the pellet still drops on you, even though no one is near the pellet to drop it. Which is then it's a problem, because then it's pretty much a second D-strike.
Yeah, I think that's one of those Power Stroke. I think it's going to be one of those that we'll have to watch and see, because I remember, like, for example, when Ruin got nerfed, everyone was like, "Oh, we're never going to use Ruin again." It's devalued it, and then now it's become the meta pet again, because most of the videos you watch now, it's like Undying and Ruin together. So I think Power Struggle's definitely. I've got a funny feeling it's going to be one of those to watch, but I don't know if it's going to be very strong. But I can just see it working with that Survivor Friends aspect. So on to the next thing then. So, and it's already been mentioned, but maps. I know for anybody that watches my channel, normally I'm the first to hate almonds. I hate, as soon as I see the offering, because that's normally how it ends up, or end up on it, I'm like, oh, for God's sake, almonds. What do you think of the new maps?
I love Ormond.
Yeah.
I've always loved Ormond, which is, kind of weird for people to hear.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm a killer main, and I love Ormond, but I'm a sucker for snow maps, okay? But yeah, no, new Ormond looks great, plays great. I love that the lodge, you can actually have 2 gens spawn inside the lodge.
Right.
Which is really cool. Plus, there's a new window vault location on the 2nd floor. So if you run the killer through that window vault, you can go down, and then there's a pallet to like the left at the drop. So you could use that as a loop. It's a really well designed map now. It's a lot more fair.
Exactly. Oh, the only powerful part in this map now is the main building. And as a killer, you never chase in the main building anyway. Like on most maps, like Blood Lodge, you don't go into the main building at all. It's like you don't go. Or like you are in Crotus Pren Asylum, you don't chase in the main building. That's like a rule for killers. And now Ormond has this main building that is far too strong to chase there. So, but the rest of Ormond now is pretty much dead. Like they added a lot of more dead zones. They added tables and chairs that just stand there, being like obstacles, but not really safe loops. They reduced the amount of safe loops. The map is actually fair now. If you manage to dodge the main building as much as possible, you won't be like suicidal attempted after you're playing Ormond now.
That's certainly good to hear. I played it. I didn't play much on this PTB, to be honest. It was quite strange, because normally I put in like quite a few hours in the PTB, but this is nothing against the new killer or survivor or anything. It was just circumstances, work, things like that. But I think I played Ormond twice, and I was like, yeah, it's changed a lot. For me, there was one particular thing I noticed was 3 gens spawned quite near each other, and I was like, this is unusual for Ormond, because normally they're so spread out, you have no chance of getting to and from them.
That's actually not true. If you look at the map site, like on the map graphic, you can see that there is like a really good free gen around the main building of Old Ormond. It's just like a bit closer. But if you just focus on those closer to the main building, you get the free gen. If you go for the corner ones, you lose the free gen. But there's actually a free gen. It's just not like really close, but it's like kinda close together if you compare to the rest of the maps. So there was always a tree gen, but the thing is like they were all in really safe locations, because everywhere was a pallet or like a jungle gym or like the maze tiles that were broken on this map. But now they are gone. Like they added like a tractor thingy where you can't loop on, like you can't go on this, you can just run around it. it's not the safe loop. It's just like the bloodlust loop when you just like follow the trail and then you get to bloodlust, you will catch a survivor immediately. He can't drop pellets anymore. They reduced the amount of pellet of this map. This map is now, I would say, it's a balanced map, and you are not like saying if you play clown, you immediately lose this map.
Yeah.
It's just like you think you have a chance now.
Well, that's certainly good. That is certainly good to hear. So as I say, I didn't get much of a chance to try it, so definitely looking forward to that. What do you guys think of Autohaven then?
I honestly didn't get a chance to like run around the maps and actually check the tiles, but they look good. I'm a really huge fan of the graphics, and I just think it looks a lot better in general. Even in low quality, it kind of feels like you're playing medium to high. So
I absolutely hate New Autohaven. I think the tiles, they look great, the models are great, but the lighting is god awful. I hate it so much. It's so dark and unnatural. I hate it.
The worst thing about the new Autohaven maps is that it's green and like blended, and now Serena can hide there really well, and you can't find them because the whole map is like and on the whole map is grass. Like why? It looks like a wrecker's yard now, but it's still like it's far too dark, and because of the grass all over the map, you can't find blendeds there anymore.
I
Like
think,
before it was like the worst map for blended. Now it's like one of the better ones.
yeah, I think, I mean, that's it. That's what I found. So I played a few games on it, and I did find it had a lot of grass areas, which I'm sure Potato, as the resident
Yes.
trapper main, you will be loving that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So perfect for trapper. I hear you about the green as well. It did seem. I don't know. I'm the same as Potato on this. I've actually really loved the updates to the maps. It's just like playing a new game for me when you get a new map update. So I'm quite a big fan of what they've done, but there was something about Auto Havens that just didn't sit right. I don't know. I couldn't really put my finger on it. I'll wait till it comes out and decide again then. But up until then, I was like, there's something. I don't know. I just can't quite put my finger on it. It could be like what you said in regards to the tiles, the colour. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I know the reason why I asked it is because I know in the community itself there's been a lot of, it's a bit like 50-50 at the minute with Autohaven. There's a few people that like it and a few people that don't. So talking about the community, so we've seen lots of criticism of the game in regards to, especially with the Halloween event. So I don't know if you guys have been keeping up to date with that or seen any of the videos on YouTube. So what's your thoughts about Dead by Daylight at the moment?
I think the game is honestly in one of the best states it's ever been. It's just unfortunate that they're cutting corners when it comes to events and also like the release of new content. We're getting so many more bugs than we ever used to, and I really wish we would get more consistent updates, like once a week. Oh, here's a new hotfix. That would go a long way just to make the game feel more consistent between updates, because this last update broke like 3 different killers.
Yeah.
And even on the live build right now, we have the Huntress bug where she just looks up. There's missing animations for wake up and mending. It's like, and the release of the exclusive cosmetics through the use of a bug, like, how did that even happen? Is QA sleeping? Like, surely they had to know that, right? It's confusing. But I think in terms of game balance and overall quality of just gameplay, like excluding bugs in terms of what's in the game, I think it's actually really good. It's just that bugs and optimization get in the way of that.
Yeah, it's well answered, to be honest. I think you probably think along the same lines as myself. But Potato,
I kind of have to agree there. I think it's like the devs sometimes don't even seem like they care, because some of these bugs have been quite atrocious.
Yep.
I mean, especially the survivor bug where you seem to share an animation with other survivors being hooked, and you're literally stopped dead and you just get hooked out of nowhere mid-air while you're doing a gen. I mean, that should have been patched like immediately. It's just they're too slow when it comes to fixing their bugs and problems, and it's like we're not even rewarded or like compensated for it, because at the end of the day, this is a game we've all paid for. but yeah, I'd love to see more care and attention from them. But in terms of the balance between killers and survivor, I mean, I still feel like the game is very survivor sided. But as a killer main, I'm always up for a challenge. So the fact that you do get those games where it's really difficult, it's enjoyable. It's not like it's not so one-sided that it's boring or irritating. It's enjoyable as a challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, certainly that does
Yeah, but
make
currently I'm
sense.
really
Yeah.
enjoying the game. Like I'm enjoying playing Killer more, and I'm starting to play Survivor a bit more as well. But yeah, I'm currently enjoying the game where it is at the moment.
All right, Captain Salty, any?
I have a lot of things to say actually, because I'm the more negative fool in this conversation. I think, and I would say it's like what I don't like is how behavior reacts to criticism. That's like an immature thing that like the people that were like complaining on the forums about this Eternal Blight event that was like actually just a cash grab for cosmetics that you could not even get in game without grinding thousands of hours. It's like they are rightfully, they had like the right to criticize them, because that's been like that for a few years now. It's like the game feels like a beta version of the game, because it had bugs that should not be in the game. It doesn't feel like a final version of a game. It feels like more of a beta test version where they try to test things, but the game is 4 years old now, or even 5 years. I don't know how long this game is out actually. And I quite lost the time on it. I'm not the best in like remembering how old this game is, but it doesn't feel like a game should feel like after 5 years of development. And about the balance issues, it's not even the problem with balances. The balancing issues are far deeper than people think. It's like it's all about RNG. It's like you can have like really good RNG when you go into the game and you get a map that is balanced, not killer or survivor sided, and then you get like a really bad spawn. So survivors have to actually look for possibilities to loop the killer around, and then like killer feels strong. But then you get on the same map with another RNG, and then the tile spawns next to another tile, and you have like 3 to 4 pellets on the same in the same area, and then you just feel like horrible as a killer, because you have to go through all those pellets and have to destroy those pellets. The whole thing with the balancing is it's not survivor sided, it's not killer sided. It depends on luck, and that's like the thing. You can't predict how a match goes, and you can't go in with an expectation of, oh yeah, go 4K or go 3K now. If you don't get any K, you will just pissed around because you can't do anything. It's just about the game. The game's RNG literally fuck you over the most of the time, and then the whole thing with perks that are far too powerful for solo queue survivors but are necessary to face survival friends, that they don't actually do something against survival friends, that they split survival friends from solo queue, which like makes the experience horrible. And I'm like a person, I like to challenge myself, but I don't want to get challenged and feel like I have no chance whatsoever the whole time. If I get between like survivor, solo queue survivor that try to communicate, to coordinate without having voice chat available, I feel like I dominate them. But if I play against survivor friends, I feel like I get dominated, and that's like that should not be the case. It should be like in the middle between of the things. It should not be you get dominated or you dominate. It's like you should be an uphill battle in most of the times, but it doesn't feel like that. And that's the biggest thing, and that's why people complain about things in the forums. And to be honest, I can understand why people complain about packs undying, because it's a bullshit perk should not be in the game, because it just completely screws over solo queue survivors, while it is like laughable for survivor friends.
We really need the developers to take 3 months off just to fix the game, just to fix bugs and optimize, and to, like you say, look over RNG and how tiles are laid out. Because it is absolutely true. You can have a game where it's super survivor sided and killer sided, then the next time it's really balanced. Take 3 months off, no new content, just fix a bunch of bugs. I'm not sure if you guys are too familiar with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but I think it was a year or two ago they had this whole Fix PUBG campaign where they, instead of putting out new content, fixed a lot of bugs, optimized the game a little bit more, and improved their servers. I think we need something like that to happen to Dead by Daylight.
No, it's interesting because I didn't know about the PUBG thing, but yeah, I mean, because that gets mentioned a lot, and I think, I mean, from my point of view, because obviously, um, I do play the game a lot, like how we all do. I do love the game. I mean, I don't dislike the game or anything, but I hear what you're saying about the bugs. So one thing I brought up, I did bring up on another video, and I mentioned about bugs, and I was trying not to be too critical because I think the devs do a good job at certain things, but like I said about with the bugs, it's pretty inexcusable. Like for instance, the one that stands out for me is the hill bug. That went on for so long, and the amount of people that were getting stuck in these hills, and it was just like, okay, that should be something like you touched up upon, that should have been done within a week or so, but it took about 3-4 weeks before that got fixed. So there is little things like that. In regards to the balance of the game, where I find the biggest imbalance is in the Survive with Friends.
Yeah.
Now, I enjoy playing Survive with Friends. I never go on comms though, so I always, if I play with people from the channel, we might do it on a Sunday. Obviously, on a Sunday, there is sort of comms there because they'll be watching my stream with it. But in regards to when we're doing it off stream, we don't do comms because I'm like, well, actually, I still want the game to be a bit of a challenge, and you're going to learn all the best ways to do things. You can't always rely on comms, but that for me is probably one of the biggest things at the moment. However, what do you guys class as a victory when you're playing as killer?
If I had fun.
Feeling like I had the chance to win.
If I had fun.
Yeah.
No, I always have to win. 3K, and I don't care about the last kill hatch. I don't care. Like, if they get hatched, they get hatched. It's fine.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's like if I get 2Ks, but I felt like I had no fun whatsoever because I was behind the whole game and they were like trolling or bullying me, I was like, say, I have no fun, even though I got 2Ks. If I got 4Ks, but the opponents I was facing, they were potatoes, I was like, not really fun. Like, it's like just the usual deal of be playing killer. I want something in between, and that rarely happens.
Yeah, you see, like I don't really play to win. I typically use meme builds on killers and survivors, so I'll use like Frank's mixtape on Legion or Iridescent Flesh and Speed Limiter on Bubba. And I'm just there to have a good time. And on Survivor's side, I'm there to pick up pallets. I'm there to heal teammates really fast or just use a bunch of active ability perks at once. I don't tend to, like, I guess the word would be to like play to win. Just because that gets really tiring and I don't want to always throw a fit or get upset when I don't win. I don't get 4 kills. Oh, darn, they used a key. Oh, I'm being worried. Like, I don't care. It's in the game.
Yeah, same.
I don't mind.
If I get worried, I'm like, yeah, probably he had the half time in the last few games when he got bullied by Survival Friends. I can understand him. And I was like, sometimes when I face Survival Friends and I notice right when I'm actually playing the game and I noticed they had Survival Friends, I was like, why did I bring a Mori? Why didn't I bring a Mori? Why should I like fight that again? And then they send you to Orman and you're like, fuck you. I hate you. Like, it's like that this offer is actually in the game is like the biggest bully in the game. Like this offering for this map should be gone, and just make the matchmaking random, and that you get to Orman randomly, that you can't get sent to it because the map is so killer, like absolutely killer. Fuck up for you fuck the killer just with this map, and it's like it doesn't feel like you playing a game anymore because you feel like you're getting bullied in school just by seeing this map. And that's how I see the games. Like some maps are like, if they actually bring offerings for the map, it's like, why do you need to try hard? Why can't you just play on Auto Haven or like every other balanced map in the game? Why do you have to bring the broken map for survivors against a weaker killer? Why can't you they have to remove the offerings, to be honest. Like not only Orman, but like make the whole thing more RNG. But then it's like you can't predict where you go, so you can't take balanced landing. If you don't know you get to Haddonfield, you don't take balanced landing, because if you get Shelter Woods, you're fucked because there's no like thing you can jump from, and it's activate balanced landing. And it's like all those perk combinations, all those builds get really fucking broken on certain maps. But if you can't request maps anymore, that would like be more fair in general. Like sometimes you get the killer tired map by random matchmaking, and sometimes you get sent to survivor sided map, but no one requests it. So survivor friends don't have the advantage of actually like making the killer even weaker than he already is.
It's interesting. It's interesting you said that. Now, see, that was something that used to really bug me as well. So it used to be like, okay, so I've literally actually had a game a day. So I just loaded up the game quickly, and I had a daily ritual: hit 4 survivors when they're intoxicated by the clown's bottles. So I was like, okay, let's go clown. Now I went against a team that had object. They'd sent me to Cauldron Farm. They had all obviously the meta packs, and they were a team. They were teabagging at every opportunity. But then I sat there and I thought, actually, now that I've been playing Survivor more, and it's interesting because you mentioned this, CptSalty. You know, you don't mind being moried because that that killer might have had a few rough games. Do you ever think that it could be the other way around as well? So I sat there and I thought, you know what? I've played a Survivor and I've had a horrendous run sometimes where I've just been, you know, one game the other day I got like 5k in it, and I was like, oh my days, like this has gone tragic. So there could be a case as well that survivors have the same issue, that actually they've gone through killers that are camping, killers that are tunneling, killers that are mooring them, and they go, actually, you know what? We want to have a chance in this game. Let's put that offering on. So it could be balanced out like that. I think sometimes that's worth thinking about.
That's why I say it's like it's just you could, of course you could project that to the other side as well. I saw that, like I was like, I had really good games where both parties had fun. Like Killer had like was really good, wasn't bullied by anyone just because we played solo queue survivors and stuff. And then in the next game you got the Hunters of Iridescent Heads and
Man, yeah,
Mori, and you're like, I didn't do anything to this guy, but probably that guy was actually getting bullied by Survival Friends on Haddonfield or Coldwind Farm or like Ormond before, and I can understand that. But the thing is, if you play solo queue, you don't bully anyone because you just like you getting. It's just like it depends on who you get in your team. And in solo queue, it's like you can chase a killer for 1, 2, 3 minutes, and your teammates are in the basement and camping the chest in the basement instead of doing gens, and they're like, I can't do anything more than that. And that's why people are pissed about Killer bringing Maurice, because solo queue is awful. Solo queue experience is awful already, and that's the thing that Behaviour has to fix. They can't balance the game around killers being able to face survivor friends, but then absolutely annihilate solo queue survivors. And even if you have like top tier solo queue survivors, a top tier killer will beat them because lack of communication.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Okay, so all right, so it's going to lead me on to the next question, what we've just been talking about. So tell me one thing you dislike about the game that you would change. Let's remove bugs from the equation. So in an ideal world, the devs have went and fixed every bug going. What's one thing you'd like to change about the game if you had the powers to do so?
In custom game, let you select how many killers and survivors are in the match. So you could have like 2, 3 killers against like 1 or like 9 survivors, let's say. Just, it's in a custom game, you're not hurting anyone. It might be buggy or really poorly optimized in that scenario, but it would be a lot of fun, and a lot of people would do it with their friends.
Yeah, I agree. That would be quite interesting.
Say that the 8 versus 2 would balance survival friends a bit, because you have a second killer that can actually help you applying pressure on a coordinated team. It would fix survival friends, but like they won't do it because the first thing I would say what they should do with is like giving you a notification when you fight against survival friends. Because if you are not ready to get bullied, that you can just stop playing this and can go to the never queue. But the thing is, queue time on killer is actually pretty garbage sometimes, and you don't want to sit in queue forever just because you dodge a game with survival friends because you get 4 survival friends in a row. that actually have flashlights, key, and stuff, and then bring offerings. And if you like play 2 games around in the row, then when you get bullied by a survival friend, the game is just not fun anymore. Like you have to make a break, and I don't want to make a break because I play games because I enjoy them. And if it's just like this whole thing is like the whole thing has to be optimized around solo queue survivors, that the game goes back to the roots where you have like you don't know who's in your team, you don't know how's the playstyle, what is the playstyle of the guys that are in your team, and the killer's alone itself. So the killer can't be carried by another one because he has to learn the game by himself. So why should survivors be able to get carried by the teammates if they can't play the game by themselves? And they should balance the game around actually being solo with other people that actually playing solo. But the thing is, there are not that many solo survivors, which is why in queue times you actually face one solo queue survivor and then a 3-stack survivor friends. And that 3-stack survivor friends then uses comms and has the advantage again, which makes the killer games harder than they should be.
Well, I think
The whole thing around this is like they have to make basic things that are good in the game not work for survivor friends, like offerings, touch some items like keys. Keys in solo queue are fine. Like I can understand when they bring keys because they want to finally maybe get the daily done when they have survived like 4 times and they bring keys. But if survivor friends bring keys, that's toxic as fuck.
Okay, so what is the one thing you would change? And you can only change one.
Disable the basic things like offerings and items, specific items, if you are in the survivor friends deck.
Yeah. So I was just about to say, I put it on the same video when I think the video was called "Is Dead by Daylight Dying?" It was actually in response to Tatariu, who'd put the video up about the numbers of people stopping playing Dead by Daylight, things like that. I'd actually think the figures were very skewed and they were there to serve a narrative. Now I understood where Tatariu was coming from, and I've come across Space Coconut as well, and I understand where they're coming from. But I think sometimes you've got to balance it out. But what I'd put in that video is, my suggestion would be, I'm going to answer this in regards to Survivor Friends. In regards to Survivor Friends, I think they should have like community perks. So if a game recognises this 4-year run, then not everyone can put Decisive Strike on. Not everybody could put Unbreakable on, so you'd only get so many per team. I don't know the logistics behind it or anything, but I thought that would something that would make it fair, because I think Survivor Friends is here to stay. I don't think they'll ever get rid of it because it's a popular option for players, and they've got 4 people that are playing together. It's fun. That was my idea, but okay. So I hear you're on that, Captain Salty. So Potato, one thing you'd like to change about a game?
Mine's quite simple, actually. They took something away from us because of MMR, and I want it back. I want the ability, when I'm in a lobby with survivors, to change my killer.
Yeah.
There is no reason right now for that to still not be a thing. Obviously, I understand with MMR what they were trialing, which was an absolute failure. But right now, as I said, this would also help counter Survivor Friends, and encourage killers not to lobby dodge, because I'm not the best with every single killer in the game. There are certain killers that I really struggle with, and if I see a team with a tag name and I know they're going to absolutely annihilate me, I want to be able to switch quickly to Trapper or Legion so I have a fair chance. I'm not going to avoid it, but I want to have a chance to come at them with my best killer because they're coming at me with their best perks and best team. So it's only fair that I also get that option. But right now, currently, I have to leave, then pick the killer, and then ready up again and wait for 5 years to rejoin. Well, I might not get them.
It's funny you should say that, because that was my suggestion as well. So I think as 2 killer mains, I think we probably agree on that. And that was the thing I was going to say as well for my behalf, is that I want to be able to change killers. Now, my thinking behind it was, and I know you've put a video up today about the streamer, and we started talking about it in the server, and I was like, it's a shame because I'll go into a lobby and I'll see a Twitch streamer there and I'll be like, I wish I could pick my strongest killer so I can play against him, and it's happened. And as I say, I don't know if you've seen the thread, because we were literally typing it up about half an hour before we started this podcast, and I'd put on there that I haven't played certain streamers with my best killer, and I'm always playing thinking, man, I wish I could go Freddy. Man, I wish I could go this. And I'm the same as you. I don't understand why it hasn't changed back, because I think it's a serious disadvantage to the killer. I don't want to lobby dodge. So if I see someone in there and I think, oh, look at this, I've got a streamer on, or I've got someone from Twitch or YouTube, and I'll be like, I want to change my killer. But it's the same with the perks as well. So I recently changed over, so I keep saying recently, but I changed over from Xbox to PC. Now, I haven't got all the perks and all the killers, so for instance, when I see a team with a key, sometimes I will play Franklin's, because I'll be like, that key's going to really put me off, I'm going to make them drop it, but I can't at the minute because I might have loaded in with a killer who doesn't have that option. I haven't got that perk unlocked on him yet. That would be mine as well, so that makes two of us that said that, so hopefully we can get some sort of message back to them. Maybe we'll start a little campaign.
Another thing that I would change if it's not for Survival Friends is that they should remove the perk ranks, because they are absolutely pointless. Now that you have 78 perks more, that makes no point to have perk ranks anymore. Like in the beginning, I can understand why they had them, but now it's just like tedious grind. And especially if you are like me, that lost his old account and have to start new and like lost 2.5K hours of playtime with no perks, having to grind them all to start and pretty much having to work with what you have is pretty obnoxious. And if you level a character to 40 to all get all the teachables, then level your main that you want to have the perks on, it's so hideous, and they don't do it. Like they could cut it in half with just removing the perk ranks. Like with the Discordance nerf, it wouldn't have been necessary if they just removed the perk ranks. Like the Discordance wasn't even like that fine strong.
Yeah.
It didn't work against organized Survival Friends that just split on each gen, like going for solo gen all the time with toolboxes and brand new parts.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't trigger against really good survivors because it didn't stack on gens. But still, they have to change it because they wanted people to use the third rank of the perk, which is absolutely stupid because there's no point of actually having them in the game anymore. Which that would be a second thing, if not for the Survival Friends balance change that I would like them to change, because it's just pointless.
No, that's fair enough. Perks is going to be another week, so I won't talk too much about them, because I think we can probably spend an hour alone, probably a day, talking about perks. So just to wrap things up then, because I know I'm taking up your time now, so I don't want to take up too much more. Let's end on a positive then. So we've said what we'd like to change about something we dislike. Tell me one thing you really like about the game that's currently working.
Different killers. They all play different if you know how to play them. And you can actually have different builds on every killer and make them work, because Pig is a stealth killer, can be played as a stealth killer, can also be played as a chasing killer, can also be played as a territorial killer, which with the bear traps, and then like patrolling all the boxes and make sure that people that should not get the helmet off don't get the helmet off. It's so much like Alone of Pig. I can only say Alone on Pig. It's like to have so many builds that you can use, because Pig is not meta. So you have the choice of what you want to do with Pig. It's like people don't know how to play against Pig yet. Like different builds of Pig.
Yeah.
Like people know they can loop Pig because she has no anti-loop whatsoever. Despite the ambush mind game at like unsafe pallets in general. But like at jungle gyms, at long walls, she's like stupidly weak. But that's like why I think all the killers have different abilities and different playstyles. And killers like Nurse and Spirit are a mistake.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying Pig. Pig's what you like about the game. Okay.
And all the other killers, like that every other killer has like a certain different hero ability.
The variety, yeah. So
so
the killer variety, that's certainly something that keeps you coming back, and it does, for me, stops me getting bored. So I've went through, when people say who do you main, I'll be like, well, at the minute it was Freddy. I'm looking to someone else now, but that's the thing I do like about the game, is the fact that it is a lot of variety. We can always change over. Conscious, obviously, Potato, you mentioned that, even though you call Potatolegion, you main Trapper. For me, I've got Pyramid Head as my icon, and I don't main him anymore. I main someone else, so that's probably a good thing, actually. Yeah. So, same question to you then.
I kind of agree. I kind of like the diversity of the killers. You never get bored because if you do get bored of the killer that you play all the time, you can easily just swap over. For me, what currently is keeping me really enjoying the game is actually playing Trapper. It is so satisfying to put a trap down and just push a survivor into it and just give him a cheeky nod as you smash them to the floor. It's just satisfying, and it's so much to learn. Like, I've barely scratched the surface with this killer alone, and I know other killers out there have got such complex powers that once you really dive into it, like for example, Legion, I didn't even know till very recently that if you get stunned with a flashlight, you can vault and cancel your power and smack them instantly. I know there's a word for that tech, but I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, there's so much to learn with every single killer, and every killer has got their own unique power, and it's always fun to learn a new killer for sure. And it's also fun to go against a killer as a survivor.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
okay, Tatariu?
Yeah, player choice. You get to choose how you want to play. If you want to camp and tunnel every survivor, you can do that. If you want to bring a key, you can do that. If you want to bring the best perks in the game or the worst perks, you can do that. I think Dead by Daylight is incredibly accessible in terms of play style, to the point where no matter what you want to do, you can do it. You could play however you want. I think that's really great.
I agree with all them points. I mean, as I say, I think the majority of people do enjoy the game, and it is a shame because, as I say, we've brought up, even on this on this podcast alone, we brought up a few issues that obviously frustrate people. But all in all, yeah, I mean, again, I'm probably the same. I do like the diversity. I like the fact that I can play different killers. I got a bit bored of killers, so I switched over to survivors. At first, when I first played Survivor, I was like, oh, I don't know why people play this. It's quite boring. But actually now I'm like, yeah, this is great. So there is a lot of diversity in there. So I think we'll probably all agree on that one. I mean, one thing that I think, again, the devs get a bit of a hard time in regards to some of the criticism, but when I put out a video in response to Tarico, obviously the main point that was the video raised was that Dead by Daylight had lost 9,000 people, in 1 month. But actually, when we've looked at it, I think in total it turned out it was 6,300 players had dropped off in October, but it had such a big increase this year, and it's been getting bigger every year. So hopefully that continues, and hopefully the devs do what needs to be done. As I say, take on board what you said about PUBG, because I didn't even realise that. So that's quite interesting that developers can do that, can take a time out. So maybe that's something they'll do to fix all the bugs in the game. So on a final note, is there anything anybody else would like to add? I take that silence as a no.
not that I can think of, no.
No. All right. So basically, yeah. So what I'll do, guys, I will first of all thank you for joining me. It's been really good to hear from you because, as I say, I watch your channels. I speak to CptSalty on messages, but I've never actually spoke to you in person. So it's been really good to speak to you all. By all means, if you want to join in at any point, I'm hoping to make this a weekly thing. So if you guys want to join in, by all means, feel free to come and join in. That's absolutely fine. In regard,
in this format, like I would be here every week.
Every week, yeah. And as I say, that goes to you too as well, guys. If you do want to join in, the more people, the better, really. And every week we'll have a different topic to talk about. But this week was about getting to know a bit about you and things like that. Again, I really appreciate the time out that you've put into this, and stay around in the server. I've joined your servers. Hopefully we can just keep chatting to each other, and we'll definitely have to get a game together at some point. That's something we definitely have to do, get a game together. I know I'd mentioned it to you before, Tatariu, but it's just like life just got in the way. But it's definitely something I want to do, and get some games together, maybe some Survivor friends. We'll get all the meta perks on, we'll take the keys and offerings for almonds and go make a killer's life hell.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah. All right, but thanks a lot, guys.